we have very low latency, very high queries per second, and we can also then support production SLAs. And this is something which we haven't really kind of focused on very much. You have operational production SLAs before, but this is now something which we're able to address within Databricks, which is quite new, I would say. And then, of course, everything today is designed for AI, and this is no exception. You can start a lake-based instance within a second. If you need to spin one up, you can do that instantly. And so if an agent needs a database to perform a task, it can just grab a lake-based instance. But because we are able to, we're just spinning this up when we need, you only pay for the actual usage that you have. So you don't have to have the database running all the time just to be there. You only pay for what you're actually using. And I think the most interesting part, from my perspective, is this kind of Git-style branching. What does that actually mean? Well, because we are separating those two layers out, what we can do is, let's say you have a petabyte scale database, and you want to make a copy of that and then make a small change to it without disturbing the original copy. We can do that without having to make a duplicate of the whole data, because we're just saving the changes, the same as you would in Git if you're used to using Git. So that is really, really efficient way of having multiple versions of the database without loads and loads of duplication. And it's very, very quick to do that. So we can kind of create a database, throw it away, create a different version, and move it around. Very powerful. That's very cool. What can you actually do with this? Well, the most obvious thing you could do with it is what you'll do with any kind of Postgres database. You can use it as the back end of your application. We're going to talk a bit more about Databricks apps in a minute. That's a good use of it. If you have other applications that you're building, you could use this as the back end of that as well. So that's pretty powerful. Potentially, you also might want to serve data from the lakehouse. Let's say you have a table in the lakehouse that you prepared, and then you want to serve it with low latency to anywhere. An application, maybe even a machine learning model that needs a feature store. You can do that. This is a really great use case. And then the third use case is basically the opposite of the second use case. So let's say you have this database as your backing store for an application, operational system, and then you want to do analytics on that data. You can just load that data back in again. And what we're doing is that arrow, that really small arrow between those two, it seems like a tiny arrow on the slide, but in reality it's actually quite a complicated piece of infrastructure for most systems. But what we're doing is kind of automating that away. So it's literally just a click to then set up that sync back again. So it really is just a little arrow on a slide rather than some really complex thing you'd have to manage yourself. So that's the first two. Let's move on to the third one, and that is talking about scaling data intelligence. So taking it beyond just data engineers and data scientists and going out to the business and supporting them. And I mentioned apps, and that's really the first place I want to start. Fun fact, this is the fastest growing service that we have on Databricks right now. It's really been huge, very popular. Because what we can do with Databricks apps is really take advantage of agents, but also take advantage of vibe coding. Has anyone tried vibe coding already? Some people. I'm surprised not more people have tried it. It's really easy. And it is really easy. Like, you can create an application, a few prompts, and wow, cool. I've got an application that works on my laptop. But then you need to put that into production. And there's a few things that you need to do before you go into production. You need to make sure you authorize users to the application, maybe integrate with your company's SSO. You need to make sure that you have audit logging. You need to keep the containers up to date. You need to potentially update your packages as well. You should probably have audit logging, and oh yeah, I did mention that, but don't forget to do that. Don't forget the networking as well, load balancing. There's like a load of stuff that you need to do to go from a really cool vibe-coded app into something which is production and security is going to sign off on. And this is something which we've been trying to solve with Databricks apps. So with Databricks apps, we are trying to make it as easy as possible to go from an application idea into a productionized data tool. And we're building on everything that exists within Databricks already. All of the data is still secured in Unity Catalog. You're still authenticated as a user automatically. That's not something you have to handle. And it means that we're not accidentally exposing data to users who don't have permissions. In terms of the actual deployment, we're using the same secure infrastructure that the rest of Databricks services are deployed on. So you don't need to worry about anything else. It's all serverless, it's all managed. And all the audit logs and everything are available out of the box. And then we have an open ecosystem. You can use basically any Python library you want to use, any Python setup, whether that's Flask, Django, Streamlit, whatever, you can use that. Or you can use something with JavaScript if you have a Node.js application or React you want to use. That's completely fine. And we even include a few different libraries as well for you to take advantage of. So that's a really easy way for you to vibe code something and put it in production in a secure way. But of course, some people might want to just do a more traditional BI type approach. And that's where our AI BI capability comes in. This is something we launched last year, and since then, it's grown a huge amount. It's really kind of hit a nerve or been really relevant to a lot of people in the market. And what we're trying to do with AI BI is essentially provide a dashboard style experience, first and foremost. Hopefully everyone knows what a dashboard is. You've at least seen one in your career at some point. And the nice thing with our dashboards is it's not a separate tool. You don't have to load data somewhere else. You don't have to pay licenses for a separate tool. It's all free and included within Databricks. What that means is you don't have to wait for data to be loaded somewhere else. It's already available directly, and it's all governed in the same way. So you also don't need to have, from a governance perspective, to copy all of the permissions access into somewhere else, which is really cool. And I would say dashboards are a good choice when you know what you want to communicate to users. So if we know, like, we want to show this particular figure or this particular visualization, great. However, it's quite hard to anticipate every question. And I don't know about you, but when I see a dashboard, usually my mind immediately starts to think of other questions. Maybe there's, what does this line actually mean? Or what happens if we were to change this? Or tell me more about this particular figure. And so when we end up in a situation where we have users asking follow-up questions, suddenly we have a challenge. How do we do that? Do we build another dashboard? I don't know. And that's where Genie comes in. So the other side of AI BI is Genie. And this is really providing what we call conversational analytics. It's the ability to talk to your data and actually have this kind of chat-style interface which allows you to ask questions in natural language. And in the background, we will work out what needs to be queried, what we need to do to produce a visualization or a data table or a summary. And the important thing is that these are curated, so people who know what they're doing with the data, who understand the data, can prepare the Genie space, provide all the context, all of the terminology and everything you might need, and then make that available to business users. And we have a lot of people making data available to business users, allowing them to ask questions, and kind of avoiding this churn of repeated, this dashboard's good, okay, give me a different one that's slightly different, or change this color, change that color. So, to make that a bit more concrete, I would like to welcome on stage my colleague Andreas, who will show us a bit more. Welcome on stage. And I understand before you were at Databricks, you were also working at BI, right?
Yes, that's right. So I've been at Databricks for 3 years, but I started my data career 13 years ago. And I was working for a VP of finance, and I was kind of a bit of an insights ninja, building a bunch of dashboards to solve his problems.
All right, well, let's show us what you got then.
Yeah. And to your story there, each insight that he got had a follow-up question. And of course, I could build a dashboard to solve his problem. So, what I'm presenting today, can we get it on there, is Databricks One. This is an experience that is targeted for business users. So, like I mentioned in this role that I had previously, I was kind of somewhere between business and analytics. I could do a decent amount of SQL, but a lot of the questions could have been answered from my VP directly. This experience, compared to the other Databricks experience, is more of a clean layout. It's limited to what we want to focus on, just getting our insights. We have an ability to search among all the products and data products that we have registered in Unity Catalog. We can ask questions from the genies that we've got spaces for and that we have access for. We also have access to dashboards and also some apps A good case could be something like a scenario analysis that requires a custom front end and it's powered by ML. So let's start by asking a question. I'm going to copy this one here. Live demo and all. And this takes us over to a Genie space. It starts to answer my, in this case, quite simple question. It's straightforward. It looks at my question, uses the semantics that we have buried in our Unity catalog. Maybe we've also added some context in the Genie room. Maybe we've got some metric views under this. It gives me an answer. If I want to check, was this code correct for the question I'm asking, I can do this as well. Maybe I'm not all that capable of understanding the SQL. I kind of get it, but actually I want to request a review from someone who can confirm if this is correct or not. In this case, I'll just say, yeah, this was a good response. I'm happy with it. This is pretty much translating my English into a SQL query, but what if I have something a bit more advanced? Today, in preview, we have a research agent as well. My funnel, as we're talking about marketing. Under the hood, it understands that this is marketing, it's a marketing funnel, and we have the semantics under it. Now, this is a reasoning model. It's